Hi folks, Billy Fife at Newmarket Golf Club. I'm going to hit some drivers. We're going to talk about some of the strikes that we get from this driver. We're going to talk about what it does to spin rate. Okay, first driver. Again, this is a super old thing that I've found here, R11S. It's set at neutral. We've got a stiff shaft in there. 10.5 loft, but I've got it lofted down. Let's see what happens. We'll be able to see some of the data. Okay, so that is a little bit to the right. Didn't feel terrible, but I'd guess a little bit in the heel maybe. We'll take a look at that on the screen. Yeah, a little low in the face. You will see this on your screen now. Let's bring up some data here. We have a spin rate of 4,071. Not cool, very, very high. We could start going down the shaft route maybe, but for me, that has definitely got to be strike. So we go back in here. We can clearly see that that strike is low on the face. We've got an impact height there of -14, which means we are 14 millimeters below the ideal position. So let's go ahead and hit another one. I'm going to try and move the ball up the face a little bit. Let's go for that. Now it seems like we hit 4 or 5 shots. We hit 4 or 5 shots before we started filming, and the spin rates have been high, and we have noticed that I'm hitting it very low in the face. So clearly what I want to do here is get that strike up the face, and it should change the spin rate. So what I'm going to do is I could adjust my tee height. I could go higher, but if you look at the tee height here, I don't really want to go much higher than that. I wouldn't be comfortable with going any higher than that. So I'm leaving the tee height there. The other option is ball position. You know what I mean? If I have the ball too far forward in my stance, the club might actually be on the rise a little too much as it comes to the golf ball. We could check angle of attack to see if that is the case. I could pull that ball back in my stance, what feels back, a little more back than where I had it, and it might change the strike. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to hit this a little higher in the face, and hopefully we get a lower spin rate. Just about took out the cameraman with a T-peg there. Okay, again to the right, not loving that at all. Data, we've got it a little higher on the face there. It's now 5 millimeters below the face, below the center of the face. I think, again, we're kind of in the right area. We could get that ball a little higher. It was a little bit in the toe there. Let's try another one. Right, that's straighter, felt a lot more solid. We're going to go to the iPad now and just have a look at that. Flight looks pretty straight, much happier with that. Still low, okay, but better. Now if we jump into the data, we can have a wee look at the spin rate, which is a good, look at that, it's still too high, that spin rate. So something we need to really work on here. You see my angle of attack is a little down, so the tricky thing here is I want my angle of attack less down, but I also want to try and get this strike higher on the face. So, you know, obviously if I move the ball forward, that would maybe change my angle of attack, but the strike, you would assume, would be lower on the face if I move that ball forward. So let's try to figure out those two things, try to juggle those two things and get it in the right position. But that's how I would use Trackman. I've got a couple of issues there. Very high spin rate. A lot of it's to do with how low I'm hitting it on the face. We can use that to figure that out. I would make adjustments. I'd refer back to the iPad to see what I could do to change that, and while I'm changing it, I have the data there to let me know whether it's the right thing to do or not. Let's hit maybe 2 more. Again, you've got to factor in that, you know, where you're at the moment. I know I have not been hitting balls, practicing, doing anything at all over the winter. You know, spent a lot of time trying to get this this place ready to open, and you know, so I'm not going to beat myself up too much, but I'm going to move this ball, what I feel is back, and then I'm going to try and just get this hit a little more on the up from there. Rico, that must have been close, that T-peg. Did that hit you, mate?
Yeah, it was on the right hand side.
Okay, angle of attack is up. It's less down. It's less down. Good path. Face was open, hence the ball going to the right. So possible toe hit. Let's go in, have a look at that. Yeah, so it's higher on the face. That's better. It's only 2 millimeters below the center. And we've got it a little in the toe, which is why the face number, when you hit it in the toe, you're going to get a slightly more open face, which is what you can see here. So some of that is toe strike. Spin rate. The spin rate, still 3,000. So if I'm hitting it there on the club face, starting to think about shaft, loft on the club, starting to think about moving some settings on the club to fix that. But you know, we're using a method that will help us narrow in and close in on the reason for the problem. Okay, let's go ahead and hit some with the ping 9-degree driver. So immediately there's a different flight. Trajectory looks lower. Kind of looks like it gets into the air and goes forward rather than ballooning. Still quite a high spin rate on that one. We are going to hit some more just to see if we can get a slightly different, but the strike's better, it's higher in the face. Hitting this a wee bit left, so we can maybe do with tweaking some settings on it. Spin rate is coming out at 2611, so a big difference. Definitely feels better, sounds better. The spin rate's coming down. I've now gone from hitting it 242 with that older driver to, I mean, I'm mishitting it 255. So I'm gaining a lot from this driver. Spin rate's definitely down, the distance is increasing. I like the trajectory better, and it sounds better. It's a bit more of a kind of dull sound to it, which I quite like. That's pretty much as good as I can hit it right there. Like that. Numbers might say something different, but 259. Remember, this is realistic numbers. This is, you know, I could go around, I've hit one 290 before. I'm not going to go around telling everybody I hit it 290. This is real numbers. Hit down on that a little bit, 2.7, not ideal. I could maybe try and hit up on it a little bit more. I've hit that 259, the spin rate was 2.6. This driver here spins a lot better for me, whether it's the shaft, whether it's the head design, something is different that's bringing these numbers down, and this is falling more into where I need it to fall to gain that extra yardage, and it's clearly hitting it further. You know, I feel like I should be getting 265, 270 out of a driver if I get the right spec and the right combination together. Hopefully that was interesting. Let us know if you want to see any other videos. You can comment below, like the video, and please subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you want to see. Hope you enjoyed that.